Good morning, YouTube. Home Theater Joe here. Another one of my favorite series, and man, I got a good one for y'all's today. Let's just jump right into it. Now, there are a few things I want to say about this film before I get into it. Number one, I don't own a physical copy of this film. I actually stream a lot of films. I have a sizable movie library now on Vudu. I have been a member of Vudu ever since really the first launch, and I want to say that's around 10 years ago now. Yeah, around 10 years, 2012-ish, maybe, 2011. Anyway, I have seen, this is why I'm bringing this up, the difference between physical media and streaming is still there, right? I still prefer physical media, and my absolute all-time favorites, I do own the physical media. As you know, most of those come with ultraviolet or streaming copies, so a lot of those movies are also in the streaming library. I more or less have the streaming library for movies that say aren't my all-time favorites, or something that I am having a hard time finding on disc, or something that is just a decent watch and I'm not too heavily invested in. Having said that, there are definitely some of my favorite movies that I own only through streaming, and again, for whatever reason, difficulty finding the physical copy, or you know, maybe the movie wasn't worth the price point it was being sold at to me. And this movie coming up on deck today, it fits in that category. So I've been able to see streaming from really its inception on Vudu, its beginning to now. And yeah, there's a difference, right? So streaming now is a lot better than it was. Also, this movie here was made, again, like about 20 years, 2001-ish, right? So this movie walks a funny line, I think. It gives you physical costume and actors, and it also has CGI. So it does marry the two fairly well, I believe. But it generates some controversy. I know some people feel like the costumes are bad and it's too late, CGI, blah, blah, blah. And you know what? I don't think that's a wrong opinion. Like, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, right? For me, I really appreciate that the whole film was not CGI. I appreciate that they took the time to make the costumes, to do the makeup, to put real people in front of the screen as opposed to just digitally putting them in there. So there's another part where this movie kind of might part the seas a little bit. I mean, if you're a CGI guy or gal and you don't like costume and makeup, well, you probably won't like this movie. If you like costume and makeup but you don't like CGI, well, then you could have a problem. As I said, I think it marries the two together pretty well. So, enough rambling about other stuff. Let's talk about the movie. Try to put it right here. Man, 13 Ghosts. What a movie. Love it, dude. And I'm going to tell you, like, I really did not have an idea to put this in my favorite series. Although it is it is one of my favorites, but I just thought that nobody cares. Nobody wants to hear about 13 Ghosts, I got to do it, though. I had this experience in my own theater watching this movie. All right, so I guess I should set this up by saying Wipeout and Odyssey do kind of a similar thing, and I believe the other room corrections do as well. And I'm not sure why this is, but they will set your base at negative 10 dB after calibration, right? A few weeks ago, I'm playing around, I'm like, yeah, what's the worst that can happen? So I, I went up about 5, went to negative 5 dB. Big mistake. I run two 12-inch clip subwoofers, R120 SWs. Big mistake. All anything was bass. Even when there was no bass in the movie, just bass. So I backed the deck down, you know, and I think right now, currently, I'm at maybe -7, -8 dBs, just a tick over what the room correction was, and it's now good. Like the bass comes in when it should and leaves when it should. It's not always around. But let me tell you, as you know, I don't like to talk plot lines and what happens in movies when I do these things, but I'm going to assure you, something happened in my home theater that's really never happened before. It was without a doubt the deepest, lowest bass drop I have ever experienced in this home theater, right at the end of the movie. And listen, the -2 or 3 dBs didn't have anything to do with it. I could just tell, because I know my home theater pretty well now. I haven't seen another movie do that in this theater. Maybe one, and I'm actually going to go back and rewatch that to figure it out. But to my ear, to my experience, right at the end of this movie, 13 Ghosts, one of the biggest bass drop, kaboom, I've ever had in this theater. It was amazing and incredible, and it moved this up the list immediately, right? As I said, I wasn't even going to put this on the favorite list, but I got to. It was that good. The experience was that fun, that enjoyable. And now I'll make a couple of quick technical notes here. As I said, the dBs were dropped, maybe 2 or 3 off of the wipeout correction, which honestly worked out fine. So I don't really think that -2 or 3 dBs is the reason that I had that experience. It maybe aided a little bit, but no. Believe you me, I've seen many movies in this theater, and that was an experience. Amazing. Also, one thing I would like to say about this film is it is 2001-ish, and I have recently performed 2-point, 10-point, 22-point grayscale calibration. I can tell you with all certainty. 1080p, you know, full HD Blu-ray movies. On my display currently, the LG C10, with just 2-point grayscale calibration at 30 and 70%. These movies are looking better. Sometimes just, I don't know how to describe it, more crisp, detailed, better than some 4K versions of movies I have and have seen. You know, 4K transfers, I'm learning recently, especially after 2-point grayscale calibration. I know I'm getting in the weeds here, so I'm going to stop. But the display right now is showing me content at 1080p, you know, full high definition. I mean, I'm honestly, I'm preferring this right now to 4K. I don't care if it's HDR or Dolby Vision metadata, which looks phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. All that stuff looks fine and dandy. But man, I am really falling back in love with some Blu-rays right now. So I've actually started to shift what I'm doing in my collection, and because as well, another aside, that most of these Blu-ray movies out here have the Dolby Atmos soundtrack baked in. So, I mean, I don't really think that there's a need to buy a 4K copy of a movie from 1991, say. Not after that 2-point grayscale calibration. Just saying. Anyway, I think this one's gone long enough, man. Just wanted to put my 2 cents out there on one of my favorite movies of all time. 13 Ghosts. And I know it's a trashy movie. Not many people are going to like it. Whatever. But man, the imagery in this movie, the crisp picture that I have, it's just, it's beautiful. And this movie did so many things right. And it's been hard for me to tell that up until now with that beautiful, beautiful LGC10 up there just rocking out. So, this video may have gone a little longer than I intended, but I just felt like there was so much stuff to talk about in there. And I think we covered it all pretty good. So if you haven't, check out 13 Ghosts. If you've seen it, check it out anyway, especially on your C10 if it's got a 2-point grayscale calibration going on. Yeah, I think that's about it. Please, I would like to know what you think about this film, and more importantly, I also want to know what people think about physical costume and makeup as opposed to CGI in the media we're watching today. That's an interesting topic that I would like to hear from. So good, bad, or indifferent, please, please, please post your questions or comments down below. You know what time it is. As always, thank you for listening. Be good. Be safe.